מחשבה טובה בלב רקמתי, לחבר לך מילים ומנגינה. אלוקיי, לא מעט שירים כתבתי ומכרתי, אנס שפתיים תפתח לומר לך תודה. ואם תרחיב ליבי כמים הזורמים בתוך הים, ותפרוס ידיים בכל קצוות העולם, איני מספיק לומר תודה. יתקדש ויתקדש שמך לעולם מבורך, על נשמה ונשימה, על החיים במתנה. יתקדש ויתקדש שמך לעולם מבורך, על יום נוסף, על יום חדש, ועל השמש שתזרח אלוקיי.
Okay, Rabotai, welcome back to Dalet Amot Shel Halacha. Eila LaKadosh Baruch Hu Be'olamo, Eila Arba Amot Shel Halacha Bilvad. All Hashem has in this world is the people that sit and learn Halacha in the 4 Amot of space. We are continuing today Be'ezrat Hashem in part 8 of the Shi'ur for Siman Reisha Tzadik Ted Halacha Aleph. We are moving to a new phase in the Halacha, which is the 3rd phase of the Halacha. Before we do that, let's just do a small review. Yesterday we saw 4 important points regarding if a person began to eat his Sudash Lishit during the day or even after sunset, even though it was in the 13.5 minute during twilight. We explained that even when the stars come out, even after it gets dark, he doesn't have to stop. The Mishnah Berurah says, what does it mean you don't have to stop? The Mishnah Berurah said you don't even have to stop for Kriyat Shema and Tefillat Aravit. He did explain, he said, and one shouldn't even be stringent to go ahead and stop now in the middle of the meal. The reason being is, if you are right now having the Sudash Lishit, and now you want to get up and daven Aravit, the Mishnah Berurah said that it's as if you're pushing Shabbat away. And the host usually doesn't want the guests to go away faster. On the contrary, when you love somebody, we saw in the Mechilta, he says that you would try to keep them as long as possible by you. So that's what the Mishnah Berurah says. One should not, when we tell you over here, you shouldn't stop. We are even telling you one should not stop even for Shema and Aravit, because then that will be disrespectful for Shabbat. However, we did see a very, very important point. What happens if a person did get up and he did stop in the middle of the 3rd meal? We saw a Magen Avraham where he says it's ifshar, he said that it's possible that maybe Havdalah now fell on him, and now he has the obligation to go ahead and do Havdalah before he eats. We did see the Eliyah Rabbah in Otchet where the Eliyah Rabbah says you're not forced to learn like the Magen Avraham. In the previous shiur, we did conclude halacha like the Magen Avraham, and I did check it out. I looked into the Kaf HaChaim, went straight with the Magen Avraham. I looked into Rav David Yosef, halacha berura, went straight like the Magen Avraham. Halacha Rabotai is like the Magen Avraham, that if a person in the middle of the Sudash Lishit, if he got up and he davened Aravit after Shabbat, now he wants to continue eating the Sudash Lishit meal, we're going to tell him he first has to do Havdalah, only then can he continue to go ahead and eat the 3rd meal, but he has to be very careful. When he benches Birkat HaMazon, he does not say Retzeh because it's no longer Shabbat by him. And last but not least, we saw a very, very important point that the Eliyah Rabbah brought down. If a person is in the middle of the 3rd meal, and we're speaking that already it's after Shabbat, but he didn't daven Aravit, but he needs to use his phone, or he needs to light the fire, or somebody's calling him, or he needs to do a malacha on Shabbat, but he's still in the middle of the 3rd meal. The Eliyah Rabbah said he's allowed to go ahead and say Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol, and then he's able to do whatever he has to do. But the novelty of the Eliyah Rabbah was, with those words alone, you're not required to say Havdalah. So therefore, if a person in the middle of the 3rd meal, for whatever reason, had to do malacha after Shabbat, he says Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol, does whatever he has to do. He wanted I don't know, Rabota, he wanted to watch the news, right? I'm not telling you should watch the news, but no problem. In the middle of the third meal, he wants to see what's happening. Okay, he said Baruch HaMavdil, he turns it around. Now he goes back and he continues eating his Sudah Shalishit without having to do Havdalah first. But remember, when you do say Birkat Hamazon, not to include the passage for Shabbat, the Retzeh v'Hachalatzenu. Okay, Rabbotai, Baruch Hashem. That was the review for part 7. Today we are continuing in part 8 of the Shu'ur. We are moving to a new phase, which is called phase 3. Whenever I do halachot, I try to break them down. Because in one halakha, like in this halakha aleph, you'll see there's about 6 points, which I like to call 6 phases. So every halakha, you get that down, you move to the next one. You get that down, you move to the next one. If you guys remember when we actually in part 1, when I did the whole halakha in the Shulchan Aruch, it was confusing. You had no idea. I dare you, Rabotai, to go back now. You have to go through the whole thing. Go back now and just read up to phase 3, up to what we're going to do today. You'll see how clear the halakha is going to sound. Why? Because you have a in-depth understanding of it. And this is the beauty of the Mishnah Berurah. This is the beauty of learning Torah in depth. In any event, let's get back to work. In the Shulchan Aruch, in Siman Pt.8, in Halacha Aleph, in the third phase of the Halacha, the Shulchan Aruch brings another Halacha now. V'im haya yoshev v'shotev v'chash chalo. If a person was sitting and he was drinking, and night fell on him, the 3 stars came out. Tzarich lahavsik. He needs to stop. I want to learn this Halacha over here in the Shulchan Aruch. Even though when we look into the Halacha Aleph in the beginning, where the Shulchan Aruch says, Asur l'chol shum davar or afilu l'shad yain or shar mashkin, chus mimayim, that you're not allowed to drink anything, meaning you're not allowed to drink wine or any other type of beverage except water. So over here it might imply, when he says you were sitting and drinking, over here it might imply Coca-Cola maybe, over here it might imply orange juice, tea, coffee, that even if you were drinking that, when the night comes you have to stop. You can learn like that, no problem, as we'll see. But let's try to go ahead and let's try to stick with the opinion of Rav David Yosef Shlita. Let's try to learn this halacha that is going on alcoholic beverages. Because when you look back into halacha aleph where it says you shouldn't drink wine and any other beverages, why are you telling me wine and any other beverages? So if you tell me wine, that means you want to compare the other beverages which are similar to wine. Again, there is much that can be said on this topic. Just try to keep it simple, and I'll tell you why, as we'll see the halacha in Rav David Yosef where he brings it down, and then you guys will get a better understanding why I want to keep it in this fashion. You'll see as we actually go along. So one more time, Rabotai. If a person was sitting and he was drinking, and the stars came out, it became dark. Tzarich lahavsik. He needs to stop. The Biur Halacha in Dibra Madchil Tzarich lahavsik says, okay, good, I stopped, so what do you want me to do next? He says, no, stop. Ula havdil, do hazara, not chazara, do havdala, vechozer lishtiyato, and then go back to drinking your drink, whatever you were drinking. He brings this down in the name of the Rambam. Again, Rabotai, when he says to do havdala, we'll see later halachot, if you were drinking wine during that meal, meaning not during that meal, if you were drinking wine before sunset, we'll see later on, and now you want to go into Havdalah now, you're not allowed to say the bracha b'rei gefen. So again, there's a lot that can be thrown into this one halakha that I can tell you that it's only alcoholic beverages, but you can argue back and tell me that it implies any beverage, except water, of course. I'm not going to disagree, I'm just trying to keep it simple, just to get it out, and then we'll see the halakha at the bottom line, okay? So, the Biur Halacha says, Tzarich lahavsik, a person needs to stop from his drinking, Ula havdil, and he needs to go ahead and do havdalah, vechozer lishtiyato, and he's allowed to continue his drinking. Comes the Mishnah Berurah in Sivkat and he says, Yoshev v'shtev v'chash chalo, if a person was sitting and he was drinking, and the night fell on him, what does it mean that he was sitting and drinking? So the Mishnah Berurah says, Hayinu, that is to say, Sheyashav l'shtod mi'b'od yom, that you sat down to drink during the day, before sunset. V'lo b'toch hasuda, but not during the meal. This halacha, the phase 3 halacha, where it says if you were sitting and drinking and then night fell on you, meaning the 3 stars came out, you know what he's telling you over here? Is specifically in a situation where you were not in the bread meal. Why is that? Why did Mishnah have to tell you? Because the phase 2 halacha, we show clearly that if a person was sitting and eating during the day and night fell on him, he doesn't have to stop. Again, you remember how we learned night over there, correct? Remember, it was sunset. Again, I'm not going to go through every single detail, but that's how you have to learn, Rabotai. It's not night. Again, there's reasons why the Shulchan Aruch says Chashcha, because remember, according to him, he goes with the Rabbeinu Tam time, so it's really not really night. He still has a lot of time. That's what he says Chashcha, meaning literally by him until it's dark. But we don't follow that opinion. We go with the opinion of the Geonim. Okay, but with this in the phase 2 of the halacha, when a person sat down to eat before sunset, and now even after sunset, the Shulchan Aruch says Ein tzarich lafsik. Then we had over there in the parentheses, the Ramah says afilu mishtiya, even from drinking, and he brings it down in the name of the Beit Yosef. So that's what the Mishnah is telling over here, that when he says in the 3rd phase of the halacha, that if a person was sitting and drinking, the Mishnah tells you in Siv Katan Hey, you have to know that this is sitting and drinking, not in a bread meal. Because had it been in a bread meal, it would have been mutar, it would have been permissible for you to continue even after sunset, even after when the 3 stars came out. That's what the Mishnah says, Sheyashav l'shtod mi be'od yom, you sat down to drink when it was day, v'lo b'toch hasuda, but you're not in a bread meal. Like we saw, because if you're in a bread meal, you're allowed to continue. V'chashcha lo. Rabotai, now he says over here, and it became dark. The 3 stars came out. So he continues the Mishnah and he says, Va'afilu imrak naseh safik chashecha. See, that's what I wanted to show you. Even if it became twilight, tzarich lafsik. He also brings the Rabbi Dahan brings this down also in Chazon Avadia in Shabbat Chalak Bet Amot Shel Halacha, which is right over here. He says the same words, Rabotai. Im haya yoshev v'shoteh yain or chamar midina. If a person was sitting and drinking wine or the drink of the country, v'chashcha, and it became dark, tzarich lafsik, you have to stop. If we look into Rabbi Dahan's number 5, it's going on the words va'afil imrak naseh safik chashecha tzarich lafsik. So we see from over here that when Chacham Avadi says over there chashcha, it doesn't mean specifically when the 3 stars come out, that's where you have to stop. Nope. We're going to go with like the Mishnah is telling us over here, that even if it's twilight, even if it's 1 minute after sunset, a person has to stop drinking. Why? Why did you have to stop drinking? Dishtiya lav davar chashuvu. Because drinking is not something that is important. That beginning it during the day is going to help you to continue into after sunset and also after nightfall. That's not going to work. So basically what the Mishnah is telling us over here is like this. The Mishnah is telling us there's a very big difference between a bread meal and just drinking alone when you're not in a bread meal. When you are in a bread meal, since you began a bread meal, which is something very important, is something very chashuv, no problem. You're allowed to continue after sunset. You're allowed to continue after nightfall. You are even allowed to go ahead and drink because you're in a bread meal. Even if it's 10 p.m., no problem, as long as you didn't down Arvit. However, he says when it comes to the drinking business, where you're not in a bread meal, it's not considered to be important to allow you to continue after sunset. That's why he tells us over here that if a person was sitting and drinking on Shabbat during Sudah Shlishit, meaning in the time period of Sudah Shlishit before sunset, and you're not in the bread meal and you were drinking, we're going to tell you once sunset comes, you have to stop. Now, Rabotai, you know what really triggered me to learn this halacha over here in phase 3, to learn over here that is going on alcoholic beverages? I'll tell you why. Because if you look back into Sivkat and Aleph in the Mishnah Berurah, if you guys remember the language he used over there, he said, "Va'afilu l'sh'ar achila," even when it comes to other foods, right? We saw the Ad Chatshai, etc. We saw that the Mishnah says that even when it comes to other foods, but if a person really has a craving or if he really needs to drink or eat, the Mishnah says you shouldn't be machmir. How can the Mishnah tell me in Sivkat and Aleph I shouldn't be machmir when it comes to drinking if I really have to drink? And it really tells me, over here, even if it became only twilight, you have to stop. I don't get it. Over here, you tell me I'm allowed to drink during twilight. Over here, you tell me I'm not allowed to drink during twilight. What's going on? So, Rabotai, in my humble opinion, I want to say like this. You could make the argument, over here, speak about a normal case where a person is not really thirsty, so really has to stop. Over here, you want to make an argument when a person needs to drink, so that's why we're going to even give it to him. Fine. You can make that argument. But I was going to look at it a little bit different. I want to say like this. Over here, we're going to have to say, in Sivkat and Aleph, he's speaking about regular drinks which are not alcoholic beverages. I'm going with the opinion of David Yosef, you'll see. In Sivkat and Hey, for the phase 3 halacha, he's telling you over here that we're speaking about alcoholic beverages. When you're speaking about alcoholic beverages, we're going to require you to stop once sunset hits. So, Rabotai, let's just see this inside. Let's see what Rav David Yosef has to say. Mei soda, carbonated water, no flavoring, nothing, just regular seltzer. Dinam kidin maim, their halacha is just like water. Umutar mikar hadin l'shotam kodum ha'avdala b'mot Shabbat. Beautiful. A person is allowed to drink seltzer before Havdalah on Mot Shabbat. You're allowed to even drink it after sunset. There's no problem. It's like just like water is allowed to be drunk before saying Havdalah. You could drink water no matter what, according to Shulchan Aruch. Not according to the Mekubalim. The Mekubalim will tell you stay away from all this. Not even water you shouldn't drink. But halacha rabotai, the law. The Shulchan Aruch said water is always permissible. So good, we look at seltzer, which has no flavoring. We'll look at it as water, and you're allowed to drink it before you even say Havdalah on Mot Shabbat. You know, a lot of times it happens that the wife, she wants to take what do you call those, vitamin or antibiotic or something, or and we tell, no, you're not allowed to, you're not allowed to. No. Rabotai, water is allowed to be consumed. Aval shar mine mashkaot, here we go, but other types of drinks. Kalim, aval shar mine mashkaot kalim, but other type of light drinks. Sheyesh bahem mitikut, that they have over there sweetness. Sweeteners. Dinam kedin yain. The halacha over there is going to be like the halacha of wine. Or shechar, or like beer. She'asur l'shtotam kodem ha'havdalah. You're not allowed to drink them before Havdalah. V'kol sheken she'asur l'shtot mis Pt.8 tevi'i. For sure you're not allowed to drink natural fruit juices. Or chalav, or milk. Kodem ha'havdalah b'mot Shabbat. Before Havdalah on Mot Shabbat. V'chen en l'shtot or kafeh with sugar. So therefore you shouldn't even drink tea or coffee with sugar. So it comes out over here according to the opinion that Rav David Yosef is bringing down now, that after sunset, the only thing you're allowed to drink is water. So that's what I was going to tell you over here, Botai. How do you want to learn this halakha in the phase 3 in the Shulchan Aruch? We could technically learn that it's going on all drinks. We're going to look at all drinks except water and seltzer, that they have the din of wine. If it has the din of wine, what does the Shulchan Aruch say? You need to stop once it becomes dark. The Mishnah Berurah said, even when it's twilight. That means if a person is sitting in the time of Sudash Shalishit where he's not in the bread meal and he's drinking Coca-Cola before sunset, now sunset came, according if you want to go straight, it's usher for you to stop. It's usher for you to continue drinking. You're drinking Coca-Cola before sunset, sunset hits, you have to stop drinking Coca-Cola. If you want to learn like that, you can learn straight like that. However, Rav David Yosef continues and he says, nevertheless, but let's say somebody wants to be lenient. Until when the 3 stars come out. According to the opinion of the Geonim, שהוא כשלוש עשרה וחצי דקות אחר שקיעת החמה, which is about 13 and a half minutes after the sun sets, יש לו על מה שיסמוך. He has what to rely on. He has what to rely on. So what can he really drink now? בין בשתיית משקאות קלים, or mispirot tevi, whether he wants to drink light drinks or natural juices, ובין בשתיית חלב, whether he wants to drink milk or קפה ותה עם סוכר, even if he wants to drink coffee and tea with sugar, וכל שכן for sure שמותר לשתות בבין השמשות, he's allowed to drink during the twilight period, תה וקפה שאין בהם סוכר. He's even allowed to drink coffee and tea even if there's no sugar. Vidinam kemayim, and their laws are like water. Verak b'shtiyat yain o shechar yesh lahachmir mishkiyat hachamam. Only by drinking wine and beer, meaning alcoholic beverages, he's saying over here that we're going to tell you one has to be stringent from sunset. Rabotai, so that's why you can see why I wanted to learn this halacha. We're going on alcoholic beverages. Because on the bottom line is, can you really compare alcoholic beverages with soft drinks? So that's what he says over here. When it comes to soft drinks, if you're going to see a person that he's not eating a Sudah Shalishit, he already ate Sudah Shalishit at 4 o'clock, and sunset is at 6 o'clock. Right? So he has over there those 13 and a half minutes to play with. He wants to make himself a coffee. He wants to be lenient. Let him be my guest. He wants to have a cup of tea. Let him be my guest. Oh, he wants to drink wine, an alcoholic beverage, beer, whiskey, vodka, whatever it might be. Over there, we're going to tell him no. Even though if you paid attention to Rav David essentially says, you should be stringent. He doesn't say it's asur. He says you should be stringent. Why? Rabotai, since according to the Shulchan Aruch, he can really be holy like Rabbeinu Tam, that means in those 13 and a half minutes after sunset, maybe still not Savik HaSheikha, maybe still not twilight, maybe still regular day, until Be'emet it gets dark, and according to him when it's going to get dark, it's almost what? 72 minutes later. So really that's why he says one should be stringent when it comes to alcoholic beverages after sunset. Because maybe really you are still allowed to go ahead and drink during, at least according to the Geonim, in that 15-minute period, let's go ahead and drink these alcoholic drinks. Why? Because according to the Shulchan Aruch in the opinion of Rabbeinu Tam, it's still not even Savik HaSheikh, it's still not even twilight, it's a regular day. But since we go with the Geonim, Rabotai, and not like Rabbeinu Tam, we're going to learn that the Hashech over here means, like the Mishnah Berurah wants to tell you, that even you have to stop after sunset. Because it's Savik HaSheikha. We have a doubt. Is it really night or is it really day? So since we have a doubt, we're going to tell you not to drink. So Rabotai, let's just do a small review. The Shulchan Aruch in the third phase of the halakha said, if a person is sitting and drinking before sunset, and now night came, we tell him he has to stop. And what does he have to do after he stops? If he wants to continue drinking, the Biur Halakha said, let him do Havdalah, and then let him continue back, let him then continue drinking whatever he was drinking. Then we saw in the Mishnah Berurah that the Mishnah Berurah made it clear that this type of drinking is speaking about drinking when he's not in the bread meal. He's just drinking like that with his friends, whatever it is. But he's not having a regular meal. Because had he been in the regular meal, he would be allowed to continue drinking even after nightfall. Comes the Mishnah Berurah continues to say that even though the Shulchan Aruch tells you after nightfall, that's when you really have to stop, the Mishnah Berurah says, even if it's only Savik HaSheikha, even during twilight, which is after sunset, you're going to have to stop. Why was the reason that you have to stop? Because we explained drinking cannot be compared to bread. Bread is davar chashuv, it's something which is important. So therefore, when you began before sunset, it allows you to continue even after nightfall because you began in a permissible way. And we said even during the twilight, if you began there, you're allowed to continue after nightfall. But drinking doesn't have that pull when you're drinking before sunset, not in a bread meal. It doesn't have that pull to pull you into after nightfall, and according to the Mishnah Berurah, even after sunset. But we did see, Rabotai, according to Rav David Yosef Shlita, that he brought us two opinions. He brought us the stringent opinion and he brought us the lenient opinion. The stringent opinion is that after sunset, you're not allowed to drink anything, even light drinks, even soda drinks. You're not allowed to have anything except for water, like the Shulchan Aruch Paskins. However, he said that if somebody wants to be lenient and he wants to go ahead and he wants to drink after sunset until when the 3 stars come out, meaning within that 13.5-minute period. So if 6 o'clock is sunset and at 6:15 is when the 3 stars come out, Rav David Yosef Shlita says he's allowed to play around with that time to go ahead and drink any type of drink as long as it's not an alcoholic beverage. Because even in the lenient opinion by the alcoholic beverage, we're going to require you to be stringent and stop drinking it after sunset. Rabotai, may everybody have a blessed day. Baruch Adonai Olam. Amen. Ve'amen.